There's somewhere around 13 million millionaires in America today. We completed a couple of years ago in our research department an airtight piece of research, the largest study of millionaires ever done. Over 10,164 of them were surveyed, and we did in-depth discussions with them to find out exactly who they are, demographically who they are, where did their money come from, what are their careers, all those kinds of things. Here's what's interesting. We have proven now statistically, again, with the largest study ever done of millionaires, that 89% of the millionaires in North America today did not become millionaires because of inheritance. As a matter of fact, 79% received absolutely zero inheritance. 5% received a very small inheritance, $5,000 from their grandmother or something like that, not enough to make them a millionaire. And another 5% received substantial money after they were already millionaires. Like a friend of mine, he's got a $1.2 million net worth. His parents passed away after he was already a millionaire, left him $250,000 more, so now he's 1.45. The definition of middle class has completely changed. In 1960, middle class was an 1,100 square foot brick home with 1.2 cars in the driveway. Today, middle class is 2,800 square foot, two-story with 2.3 cars in the driveway, meaning they've got on average. So we define middle class by what in 1960 we would have called at least upper middle class, maybe lower upper class. And so we've changed our standards of living so high across the board in America that we have the richest poor people in the world. I'm hopeful it comes under control for multiple reasons. I think part of the reason for the inflation is this ridiculous government policy of just printing money like there's no tomorrow and throwing it at everything and paying people to not work. But the other thing that's caused this particular piece of inflation, it's very unusual, and I didn't see it coming, but looking back on it, I kind of feel like I should have seen it coming. Anytime there's an earthquake at sea, following that, there's a tsunami. If it's a major earthquake at sea. So you'll get a 10-story wave that hits the shore days later or hours or whatever later after the earthquake at sea. The earthquake at sea was the pandemic. We shut the economy completely down. We shut down all factories. We shut down all supply chain. We shut down all production and most consumption, but not all of it. And then we put people back to work, sort of, but we paid them to not work. So we disrupted the supply chain, we disrupted the supply demand of goods and services, and we disrupted the labor markets with this ridiculous policy coming out of Washington, continuing to pay people not to work. And so we've had this perfect storm that has resulted in unbelievable spikes in almost every category. The only category that's not caused by this is oil, and that's caused by shutting off pipelines and ridiculous policy, again, out of shutting down supply. It's a supply-demand curve. Anytime there's a shortage, you see a jump in price. Shortage of toilet paper, jump in price. Shortage of gasoline, jump in price. Shortage of labor, jump in price. That's a supply-demand curve from the 7th grade. So my hope is that two things will occur over the next 5 to 10 years to do away with this. One is, after the tsunami, the waves go out, and we repair and get back to a fairly normal capitalistic society again. And my hope is that we change administrations and quit spending money like a drunken sailor. Right. And so we have to do away with the source of their addiction. The government help is out of control because we're helping people that don't need help, meaning that we're paying people to not work that are able-bodied and could get work, and there's plenty of work out there to do right now. Tremendous labor shortages in several industries right now. Try running a restaurant right now. Oh my gosh, it's awful. Try getting, hotel beds made. Ridiculously hard. So the people in the service industries, the first ones that got hurt the most with the pandemic, quarantine, and the shutdowns, it was the lower socioeconomic rungs. They're the ones that haven't come back. And they're the ones that are holding up, the economy from moving again. And it's all caused by these extended, out-of-control government programs. And it's not being helpful. They're trying to be helpful. But that's not helpful to that person 10 years from today to teach them to not work. Anytime you get desperate, right after that, financially, you get stupid. I've done it, and, if you start getting desperate and you're freaking out over the spike in inflation, or you're freaking out over all these disturbances in the economy, and you go to some kind of desperate move to get rich quick in some unproven process, that's just not wise. And so I can tell you what I'm personally doing. I'm personally continuing to do what I've done for 30 years. I buy mutual funds and long track record mutual funds in my 401k and outside the 401k, and I buy real estate that I pay cash for. It's very simple, very boring, nothing sexy about it. I don't get to tell my golfing buddies some story that made me look brilliant, but it's resulted in several hundred millions of dollars of net worth, so it's working out okay. It's the baby steps that we have taught for almost 30 years. But what we found out was that now that we've been doing this so long, there's tens of thousands of millionaires that are millionaires because they worked this plan that we taught them 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 18 years ago. And they're coming into our office to do those debt-free screams that we do on the radio. And they're saying, oh, by the way, when I paid off my house the other day, it's worth $450,000. I've got a little over $1 million in my 401k, so I'm worth $1.5 million. I'm a baby steps millionaire. And that's where it comes from. They followed the baby steps. Baby step 1 through 3 is basically get out of debt and build your emergency fund. And 4 is put 15% of your income into retirement.